Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. Thrilled to have in the studio a longtime friend and colleague. She's a best-selling author, and I knew her when we were both working for the school district many moons ago, and that's Jill G. Hall. How you doing, Jill?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today.
No, it's wonderful. And of course, it's even better that my co-host, Kristen Vogel, in her third year co-hosting the Spotlight Show. She's done a great job. Executive Director of San Diego Writers Inc. is very, very close to you, personally and professionally.
Indeed. Yes, I'm excited to be on here.
How long have you known Jill?
About almost 13 years now.
Not quite as long as we know each other, Jilly.
It's not a contest, but you win the contest.
Exactly.
Yes.
So listen, we want to get to the book, of course, that is going to be coming out when?
October 14th is the official release date.
Okay, it's on a Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley and the Origins of Lomaland. So we're going to get into that big time, talk a little bit about her previous novels. But if we can track a little bit, you started off as an educator for San Diego Unified. Talk about that.
Well, I taught for 20 years, and that was my calling. I really loved it. I taught elementary, all subjects, and then performing arts and history at the middle level. And I just loved it. And then the pendulum swung away from the arts. And so I was able to take some time off and work on my mosaics. I do artwork with using found objects. And then I started writing.
You know, it's interesting because I knew Jill when we were working on some projects for special ed. But Jill also has a background. She loves to sing and dance and did that, when you were younger. And of course, that sort of morphed into, you've always been an arts supporter. You're a big arts supporter now. And thank you and everybody else that has really boosted up a lot of the stuff that's been going on arts-wise. Talk about that and your passion for the arts.
Well, I started taking ballet when I was in elementary school, well, actually preschool. So I've been dancing my whole life. In fact, I'm still taking dance classes.
Really?
At Aging Creatively through San Diego Dance Theater at Liberty Station in the Dorothea Law Dance Place. And I just loved, and I performed. I was in a dance company at the Old Globe Theater in the late 70s.
Nice. What type of dance?
Well, it was part of the Shakespeare Festival, and we performed on the grass in front of the Old Globe before the plays.
Wow.
And so they were preludes to the plays, and people would come and bring their picnics and watch us. And because I'm short, I got to play lots of fun character parts. So I was an air fairy as a prelude to the Midsummer Night's Dream, and a leprechaun before Timon of Athens, and a court jester. And so it was really a lot of fun. And since then, I've done some community theater. And when I worked in the schools, I directed plays.
Right. Now, I know obviously you've been so busy writing. Is this your fourth novel? Is that correct? No?
Yes, it's my fourth novel.
Right. And so you probably don't have a lot of time to do some plays or, on the dance floor, or do you?
Well, I haven't had a lot of time to perform because it's very time consuming.
Right.
But I've been involved with raising funds for the Joan and Erwin Jacobs Performing Arts Center at Liberty Station. I've been on the campaign cabinet, and now we're calling it the Joan after Joan Jacobs. And we just had our ribbon cutting last Friday.
Saw that.
And then a big party on Monday, and Saturday's opening night for their first show in the theater called Follies. And I'm going to go to that.
Yeah, and that's Saturday the what?
This coming Saturday.
As in tomorrow?
As in tomorrow. Yes, it's already tomorrow. Yes.
As in that Saturday.
And it will run for a couple of weeks.
No, that's terrific. So, and you jump in as well, Kristen. So when did you get the bug for, I want to become a novelist?
Well, when I left the school district, I started writing. I wanted to do a creative art form that was quiet and peaceful after being in the schools all those years.
Right.
And so I started to attend a group that met every Tuesday with Judy Reeves called Brown Bag. And I thought I'd write children's books or maybe a memoir about being a classroom teacher, but that's not what happened. Characters appeared on the page out of nowhere. And I just kept writing, and then now I have 3 novels out called the Anne McFarlane series. And Anne was a San Francisco artist, and she goes out to buy found objects for her artwork, like the kind of artwork I do. And she also finds vintage clothes. So the black velvet coat, the silver shoes, and the green lace corset are dual timeline historical fiction novels. And they're also about Anne McFarlane and the women who owned those clothing items in the past.
So is that part of the reason why these are sort of historical novels and all that business? Because you love teaching social studies. I know you did.
Well, I think it came out. I didn't make decisions like, I'm going to write about this. Mm-hmm. It just came out. And I'm an intuitive artist, and so I don't work with an outline. I just write with my heart and not my head. I do all my first drafts by hand in my journal.
Kristen?
Yeah, I want to pause there too, because I want to make sure that I'm getting this correct, is that you wrote a lot of the first novel over 10 years in Brown Bag?
Yes.
Is that correct?
I spent 10 years on it.
Because that's what I tell people.
And at first I thought I had 2 stories, because I had one story about Anne McFarlane, who was a San Francisco artist, and then this young heiress who also lived in San Francisco. And I thought there were 2 stories, but then I had a dream. I actually saw a coat at a thrift shop and just fell in love with it. And then I went the next day to buy it and had a dream about it. And then I realized it was the same story, because I had both of the women ended up having that black velvet coat.
All good stuff. We're chatting with Jill G. Hall. She is the author of her latest book on A Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley and the Origins of Lomaland. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by the amazing folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in our community, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's the arts, whether it's financial literacy, Alzheimer's, everything in between. They are just there, shoulder to shoulder with you, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, in her 3rd year and helping me and with this show, and you definitely elevated the show, and I really appreciate that. Kristen, she's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and a longtime friend and colleague of Jill Hall. So let me ask you this, Kristen. When you first met Jilly, I call her Jilly Bean because we've known her for a long time. What did you first look and say, man, I'm impressed with her? Obviously, she's exuberant. She's always been that way. I've always enjoyed that about her, excited, whatever she gets her hands into. How about you?
Well, when I met Jill, speaking to kind of the arts advocate piece, Writers Inc. was in downtown, and we were just starting a move to Liberty Station. And so at first, there was Writers Inc. on one side of the wall, and Jill was opening up a gallery on the other side of the wall. And so how I met Jill and became friends and colleagues and all that was I was working on one side of the wall and said, if I worked on the other side of the wall with Jill, we could kind of unify the two. And it was always Jill's plan to help share that space and for Writers Inc. to have 2 spaces. So I knew her that way, and she brought me into this world of curating. So I'm in my 13th year of curating the art gallery under her tutelage. And
that's great.
So that's how I've known her, as this very exuberant, multi-talented sort of person.
Right. Now, have you written novels at all?
We don't have to go there, Drew. I've written other things. I'm very good in my own right. But let's get back to Jill, shall we?
That's okay. You guys are all authors and all that. I've started a novel. I'm on page 2. It's only been 55 years.
Any day now.
Exactly. Jill, so what was the motivation of On a Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley and the Origins of Lomaland?
Well, I told everybody that I knew, including Kristen, that I'm never writing another novel. It is too much work. We'll spend years on a novel, and then as soon as it comes out, that's when the hard start parts starts, because then you have to go out and you have to get it into people's hands and promote it. And so I said, I'm just going to do my poetry. I may be going to write a book on creativity, which is my blog posts, which are about living a life of creativity. And I believe that you're not just creative when you're in the classroom teaching, or when you are with your journal or in an art studio, but all the time. And so what happened was, I'm never writing another novel. But then I had a friend who came over to visit, and we were sitting in my living room, and he pointed over in my neighborhood towards Point Loma Nazarene University. And he said, tell me about that property. And all this information started flowing out of me. I had grown up in Point Loma, and so I had heard about Madame Tingley my whole life. And my earliest memory is driving up Catalina with my mom. We have all 4 of us kids in the station wagon. She's smoking her cigarette. She points over to this building, and she said, see that round building? This kooky lady lived there. And she thought her husband was reincarnated as a turtle. So she built it round so he wouldn't bump into the corners.
My goodness. And that was when you were in your formative years, correct?
I was in elementary school. I was really young.
Right. And so obviously that stuck with you, and your friend mentions to you that
he said,
tell him about X, and that started everything?
He said that, and he said, that is your next novel. Right. And I said, oh, no.
Well, I remember when you were writing it, and the amount of research you poured into it was huge, and some of it not easy to get to. When we come back from break, I want to talk about that whole process. How long did it take you to write?
5 years to research and write it until it came out.
As long as I've known Jilly Bean, weren't you working on that every single day?
I was working on it all the time.
Yes. You were.
We didn't see her for a very long time.
Yes, I was just really working on it. And because of the work I was doing, I needed to keep continuity to it. So when I took a break, it would be hard to get back into a role again. And so I really, really worked on it. In fact, in my acknowledgments, which you'll see both of you in, it said, thank you for my friends who've supported me, because I kept saying, no, I couldn't do this. Couldn't go with you to whatever. So, it was really, I just became possessed.
Well, listen, we're going to chat more about that when we return with Jill G. Hall. She is the author of her 4th novel on a Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley and the Origins of Lomaland. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to our edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. So pleased to have in the studio with us today Jill G. Hall. She's an author, talking about her 4th novel on a Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley and the Origins of Lomaland. Just so pleased to have as a co-host in her 3rd year working with me on Spotlight on the Community Show, Kristen Fogel. You know, Kristen, we were just talking about, we were almost living through this novel with Jill for 5 years. And I remember you were so painstaking on, you wanted to get everything right, but you didn't want to leave any chance for, man, can this be wrong? Talk about the sojourn of doing all the research.
So as a historical fiction author, it is our job to be as authentic as possible. And because this was biographical historical fiction, it was even more important about someone who had really lived. And so I thought, I'll buy a biography and I'll read about her. Well, there wasn't a biography. I'm going to go down to the History Center and go through the archives in Balboa Park. Then COVID hit, and I wasn't able to do that. So I started to do as much research as I could online, and there had been a lot of rumors about her. And it was also said that she was a medium and clairvoyant. So I wanted to know, what is a medium and what is a clairvoyant? And was she really a medium and clairvoyant? So I started to do a lot of research on that and try to find the evidence and that she was a medium and clairvoyant, and how could she actually do those things, and what was the process she went through. So I found out that one of my good friends was a medium, and I met with her, and she took me under her wing and taught me about what it meant to be a medium. She answered all my questions. I did sittings with her where she actually did readings for us with myself and some of my friends. There are actually mediums who are who do online Zoom readings with hundreds of people will sign up for $10 and have that. So I wanted to know, though, did she really do that? And the whole time I'm writing, I couldn't find any evidence. And then one of my historian colleagues found an old article that actually said that it was an ad in a newspaper from New York that she had actually done mediumship readings in person and mail order. And then there was an article that talked about how she did it, and she actually was blindfolded and she touched things. And that's how she would get messages from someone who had been lost, and it was their spirit, a message from their spirit, who had a message for someone that was still on Earth.
So are you going to be now not writing your 5th novel, but become a medium?
No.
Okay.
No.
That is fascinating. Kristen, I know you got some questions for your colleague.
Yeah, I do. Something that was really interesting about this whole process seemed like everything sort of synchronistically came about. So, I mean, can you talk about a few of the things that it just seemed like, I want to know X, and that person would appear almost. So
yes.
Can you tell us about some of those kind of interesting coincidences, if you will?
Yeah. So I was at a event for a political event in my neighborhood, and it was during COVID, and I had my mask on, and we were all like kind of staying away. And I met this woman who lived around the corner. I'd never met her before, and she said she was an editor, and I said, I'm a writer, and we started talking about that, and I told her what I was working on, and she goes, oh, well, I know all about that, but the History Center doesn't have the archives right now. They're actually at San Diego State. So I'm like, really? And so I contacted State, and they told me the name of a man. They said, well, we don't have an archivist here right now, or a curator, so you need to contact this man. Well, it was COVID, and I felt really nervous to contact someone during COVID. So I waited a while, and then I contacted him, and we started to email back and forth, I asked him a couple. He said, oh, he was really supportive. I thought he'd think I was just really out there. But it turned out his parents grew up on the property with Madame Tingley, and his mother had actually been born there on Lomaland. And so then he started to answer my questions that I would type in to him. And finally he said, Jill, we need to Zoom. So, because I'm asking him all these esoteric, occult questions. So then he, we had a 2-hour Zoom. We got to know each other really well. And then later I sent him a note and I said, I'm trying to find out where exactly each building was built on the property. Can you help me with that? And he said, well, I know someone whose master's thesis was written about it. And I said, and he gave me the guy's name and I Googled him and he lived up in Berkeley and was a theater director. I thought, that's pretty cool. But it was COVID and it just didn't feel right. The theater was closed, of course. So then my friend Ken sent me a copy of the master's thesis that he found online. And I used it extensively. And I'm like, I really want to meet this guy. I want to walk the property with him. And then about a year or two later, all of a sudden, I'm looking at my list of who's going to my class reunion from Point Loma High School. And there's a name that looked really familiar. And then that night I woke up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the same name. Wow. So it turns out that the guy who wrote his master's thesis on Lomaland was in my class at Point Loma High.
That's weird.
And all these things sort of, come together in that way. Now, there's a launch party on when?
Yes. There's a launch party at Warwick's on October 20th. And that's going to be a great party.
And is that free? People can show up? Is it cost? How's that work?
Yes. So the best way to get for sure to get a seat is to go online on Warwick's. You can type in the calendar or even my name and buy a book. And then you'll be given a seat, but you can just show up if you want. But it's better if you really want a seat.
Get to buy a book. Yeah, that's on the 20th. And isn't there's another one coming up too?
Yes, I have a lot of little events around the city. I'm going to do some book clubs and whatnot, but I'm doing another really great party, which is going to be with La Playa Books at the Point Loma Assembly Building on Talbot Street. And that is free. Anybody can come. And I'm going to actually be sharing my slide presentation with my some of my research archival photos and talk about my project.
And that's October 30th.
And that's October 30th.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
We're again chatting with Jill G. Hall. She's the author of On a Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley and the Origins of Lomaland. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. Now, we don't want to do too many spoiler alerts, right? We want people to buy this novel, correct?
Correct.
But is there anything that jumps out as a tease for the people that say, this is why you should read this novel because you'll find X? Is there some type of a tease?
Well, I really am encouraging people to read it and just be amazed at this woman who did so much for the world, for San Diego, for Point Loma. I really am convinced now that if it was not for Madame Tingley, none of the arts and culture would be as thriving as they are today.
In San Diego County?
In San Diego County.
Really?
Yes, she had a lot of hands in on the campus. She actually built the first Greek amphitheater in the United States, and it's still there today.
And where's that?
It's at Point Loma Nazarene University.
That's the first. Oh my goodness!
Where you're also doing an event, not at the amphitheater.
I'll be doing. I'm doing a private event on the campus in front of one of the homes that she lived in on the right there, overlooking the ocean.
Yeah.
So if the folks at Point Loma Nazarene, have they embraced what you've done? Are they aware of what you've done? Are they going to have a statue for you there, or a statue next to it?
It's
Madame
being
Tingley
erected right now.
Yes. Well, actually, it's not easy. They're very private there.
Right.
It's a private university, so but Dean Nelson, who runs their Symposium by the Sea,
Dean's great,
is a colleague of ours. Right. And I told him what I've been working on for years. I've been telling you what I've been working on. And so when my book was coming out, he was really excited. He said, we want to have a party for you. So they're actually helping host it. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Is that a private party?
It's a private party. Yeah. And if you're nice to me, maybe, Drewski, I'll invite you.
Okay, you know what? Effective immediately, I'm going to be nice. I'm always nice to you, Jilly.
I know you are always nice.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is amazing. So now, is this their last novel?
Yes, this is my last novel.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I know this was, certainly just a passion of love with you and how much time you really put into it. And I think the readers, and I can't wait to thank you for getting me a personal copy. I really appreciate it, and I'm touched by that. When they look into this, they're going to just absolutely, if they don't, the detail and the time and the sweat you put into this thing was amazing. I'm sure it's going to come popping out. Are you happy with it?
Well, I'm really glad it's out in the world so I can go on with my life.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to sharing it and going to events and book talks and whatnot and telling people about it and answering questions.
Yeah. What do you see? I mean, obviously you got some stuff to do to promote the book and all that business, but what do you see as next step, or you just don't know? You just take it one day at a time?
Well, I'm going to do a lot of travel for this book. I'm going to be going to the Northwest.
Nice.
And also Texas. I have some friends there that are doing events for me. And I'm also going to Newburyport, Massachusetts, where Catherine Tingley grew up.
Oh, nice.
And had her dream then of a white city on a Sundown Sea.
So then who are you going to see there?
I'm working with the Old Newbury Museum. I did a lot of research there and also the library. And so they're scheduling some events for me to go back.
So how long will all this take? You'll be gone for 2 months, 3 months,
Well,
3
I'm going
years?
to break it up. So I'm not going to go to the East Coast until the spring.
Right.
So it'll take a couple months. I'll be back and forth.
That's very, very exciting. And Kristen knows this, we usually leave just a little bit of time when we have an author on to talk about, what they've learned about becoming an author. Obviously, this is your 4th novel and so forth on it. But I'd love to talk about, what would you say if you want to become a writer, and whether it's a novelist or it's someone that's writing for, a publication, what skill set is number one that they should have? That
they should do, they should find their writing practice time. So they should write as many days as they can. And they should find their tribe. I mean, I'm so blessed because I have San Diego Writers Inc. here in San Diego. And I'm able to those are my friends and colleagues that I've been working with we've just had our 20th anniversary last year.
Yes.
And so when my book was ready to come out, I was ready because I knew what I needed to do. And I had the support of my colleagues. So yeah. So if you're not a member and you live in San Diego and you want to write, come to San Diego Writers Inc.
And we're always, celebrating our members. Jill, during First Friday, we always have a reading. So she's going to be there with Elizabeth St. John, who's also a very talented historical fiction novelist and was here not too long ago.
She was. She was great. What a delight.
They will both be there and reading their books. And
Yeah, no, I find it, interesting. I'm, a zillion years ago, I was a writer and then journalism, and one of the things you learn, and you better have this in your character traits, you better have thick skin. That's all I can tell you, and, be open to the world on it. But you got to be able to take criticism and, not fall apart on this thing, because you're getting 75 different things, feedback, your editors and all that business as well. Was that hard for you to do, to be able to take criticism, or no, that was easy? Well,
I've always felt like I want my writing to be the best it can be. And so I say, bring it on. Tell me what I can do to make it better. But then I know in my heart that I am the writer, I'm the artist, and I get to make the final decisions on what it's going to be.
Okay, well, Jill G. Hall, it's great seeing my longtime friend. Congratulations on A Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley, and the Origins of Lomaland. For our listeners, if you want to go ahead and see some of the launch parties, Monday, October the 20th at 7:30 at Warwick's. Buy a book, you'll get a seat. Or October the 30th at La Playa Books on Talbot Street in Point Loma. Jill, I know this won't be the last time we'll have you on the show. You'll be coming up with something creative down the road, and we'll look forward to sharing that with our audience.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Jill G. Hall, again, author of On a Sundown Sea, a novel of Madame Tingley, and the Origins of Lomaland. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by the amazing folks of Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for people living in San Diego County. And to my co-host, Kristen Fogel, she is the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Thank you so much for all the great work you're doing. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.